All right, here he is, the legendary guitar player from Accept, Wolf Hoffmann. Wolf, what's going on, man?
I'm doing all right. I'm wearing my Superman shirt today. See?
Hey, there you go. You got Superman. I got WMMS, a radio station here in Cleveland. So
Excellent.
we're all ready to roll. And you're in Nashville now, right? That's where you're living at.
That's right. I've been here for a long time, incognito. Nobody knew I was here, but I've been here for a long, long time.
Why the decision to move from Germany over to the U.S.?
Man, that happened sometime during the 80s when we sort of I fell in love with America, and I thought, like, what a fabulous place. I want to live here one day. And yeah, I've actually been moved here many, many years ago and just lived here instead of Germany. I mean, I go back to Germany all the time, but I love America, and especially Nashville is cool if you're a musician because, hey, everything's right here. It's Music City, man.
Absolutely. So no regrets at all about moving over here. You're glad you did it.
That's right. That's
So,
right. No regrets. It's actually one of our songs. No regrets.
yeah, there you go. So the brand new album, Humanoid, coming out on April 26th, and is the band's 17th album, which is just absolutely incredible, a very deep catalog. And when you look back at joining the band back in 1976 at 16 years old, I mean, you've got to be just ecstatic and maybe sort of even surprised that here we are now in 2024. The band is still alive and kicking, and most importantly, still putting out excellent records.
Yeah, it's nuts. I mean, if you would have told me that back then, I would have thought you're crazy. I mean, this was a time when everything was sort of still in its infancy. I mean, the metal scene as we know it today didn't even exist when Accept got started and when I joined the band. And the idea to be a lifelong professional musician, I mean, it sounded cool, but nobody had any idea that this was even possible, to be honest.
Well, and
And
you guys really were pioneers. I think you've said before, but I mean, Accept really is like the first metal band to come out of Germany.
probably so. I mean, we were metal before it was even called metal.
Yeah,
And I
exactly.
remember when people started like coming up with the term heavy metal, I didn't really know what to think of it. Initially, it sounded a little demeaning or something, you know. I don't know. We always thought of it as a hard rock, and everybody was familiar with that term. We thought we were a hard rock band, and then all of a sudden, I think Black Sabbath and those kind of bands came up with that term, and then before you knew it, we were called heavy metal, and we thought, yeah, well, hey, that sounds quite cool, and I guess we are heavy and we are metal, so what the hell?
You know, perhaps one of the things that I find most admirable about Accept is that not only are you guys still putting out new music, but you really embrace the new material. And I've seen you say in another interview that you think it would be great at some point to do, you know, some sort of special show or a special tour where the sole focus is on new material as opposed to, you know, the classics like Balls to the Wall and Princess of the Dawn and all that, because those classic songs take up a fair chunk of the live set, which of course cuts into time to play new stuff from this modern era of Accept, whereas, you know, a lot of your peers and other bands from back in the early days, I mean, they're largely focused on their older catalog, and maybe they put out a new record, but, I mean, oftentimes you go see a band when they put out a new record, and they don't even play a song from it. They put it out, and it's just, it's dead as soon as it comes out.
Yeah, well, see, we didn't want to go down that road. I mean, we were faced with that when we got and we found Mark, and we said, okay, we're going to launch this thing again, and we initially we made the decision to start a new chapter in our history that's really relevant and not just something that's like you say, you know, we'll put on a few songs out, but nobody really cares because everybody just wants to hear the old songs. We could have said that, but that's sort of the cheap way out, I think. It's kind of given up, and I always felt like, well, hell, we wrote those songs back then, and why shouldn't we write new songs that are every bit as good, maybe even better? And there's a lot of fans who tell me they like the new material uh, almost better than the old stuff. And I'm not knocking any. I mean, I'm very proud of the heritage that we have and the old catalog. It's beautiful. And but that makes me very happy if we actually achieved the almost impossible to sort of come up with albums that are on par with the old stuff, right? And yeah, I think we are approaching that point where we could really do some shows with just new material. You know, because I mean, yeah. fans love hearing the old stuff, but some people have also heard it quite a few times. So if you come to see Accept again, you know what you're going to get. You're going to get Fast as a Shark, Princess of the Dawn, Balls to the Wall, Metal Heart. Those are the classic must-play songs that we have, and there's quite a few of them. So yeah, it would be nice, even for the fans to have a new concept and do shows that are, just focusing on the new stuff. Would be great. We haven't done it yet, but we could.
Well, and I think that concept works great for a band like Accept, because I'd have to imagine that Accept doesn't really have a whole lot of casual fans, so to speak. Most metal fans, they're familiar with the band's entire discography, as opposed to, a more mainstream act where, maybe there's some diehard hardcore fans out there, but they're only familiar with, whatever's on the radio or whatever. So I think that type of concept works great for a band like Accept.
Yeah. Well, hell, what even is a casual fan? Either you're a fan or you're not. Are you metal or no? I know what you mean. I know what you mean.
It does blow me away, especially with the price of concert tickets now. These people pay like $200-300 plus, and they only know a couple songs, and the artist will start playing some deep cut, and they're like, "What the fuck? I got to go get a beer now." You know what I mean?
Yeah, I guess it all depends on the region, and it depends on the audience where we would do such a thing. I mean, we play a lot of festivals in Europe this summer again, and we've done it last year and the years prior, where we are one of, say, I don't know, a dozen bands or more, and sometimes we're the headliner, sometimes we're not. But at these shows, there's a certain percentage of the crowd that aren't that familiar with our stuff. So, and then you usually go for the biggest hits, and you sort of play stuff that's approachable and people are, get into easily, or best case scenario, they know the song. But, when you have your own shows and it's a totally dedicated Accept headline show, then most people will know those classics anyhow,
Yeah, exactly. So this new album is also your sixth with producer Andy Sneap, who's done every record since Mark Tornillo joined, which I guess is about 15 years ago now or so, going back to Blood of the Nations. And, it's really almost the sort of the go-to guy for a lot of metal bands, especially a lot of the older ones, Judas Priest, Saxon, Overkill. He's done so many records. And, of course, you guys, what is it about him that has kept you guys working together for now 6 records?
Yeah, man, Andy is the dude. Ever since we started working with him, it's been really a perfect match. And I wouldn't want to work with anybody else at this point, to be honest. He's just totally into it, and we get along great. And he understands Accept, he understands metal, he understands guitar tone, riffing, all that stuff. He's really the perfect guy. And yeah, I can't believe how many other acts he's done recently. The guy works nonstop, and he's on tour with Judas Priest, and
that's right. Yeah,
it's very, very remarkable.
So in a way, at this point now, 6 records deep, is he almost like a sort of a silent member of Accept?
Well, that would be stretching it a little bit, but he definitely feels like part of the family in a way,
Sure.
Well, yeah, we have a great camaraderie, and we have a great team, and we kind of know each other so well that it's really a lot of stuff gets done without even saying. We all go for the same thing. There's no discrepancies or whatever. We all like the similar things, and I really love it when Andy is sort of we come up with a cool riff, or we have a cool moment during song creation, and you still feel like he's got that fan in him, when his eyes light up and we all look at each other and think, oh, fuck yeah, that's great. It's like we're totally on board with that.
Well, one thing I did want to ask you about, I don't want to get into it too deep. It's not really that type of show. But one thing I did find interesting in that you were talking about the band's songwriting process, and that when you're writing new material for Accept, sometimes you will actually use lyrics from older Accept songs as sort of placeholders when you're trying to come up with, vocal ideas and melodies and things like that. And I don't know why. I just thought that was so fascinating, because in a way, if you use those old lyrics just as a placeholder, I guess in my mind, I'd be like, I would start associating those lyrics with the new song too, and then I would be freaking out that, oh, God, maybe this new song is going to sound too much like the old song now if I'm using the old lyrics, even as, just temporarily?
Not to me, because I hear those words I almost hear those words and the vocals as an instrument, and I need something when I'm just imagining how it would sound like later on. I need some, in the past we've always done this sort of mumbo jumbo, mean nothing kind of lyric stuff, which is sometimes hilarious, by the way, where we just make up sounds and words that mean nothing. But sometimes when you have a riff and you want to imagine, I wonder what it would sound like if it's got this sort of cadence that you have in mind. And then if you find some lyrics that match that somehow, at least you have some words, and it brings you a little closer to what it will be like in the end. But you're right, you got to be careful if you get too attached to it, then all of a sudden, yeah, I mean, I basically never listened to the content at that point. I just sort of use it as like an instrument.
Sure. Well, another thing that I want to touch on, and it's really at this point sort of old news, but I'm kind of interested in hearing your perspective on this. I had Joel Hoekstra on the show a couple of months ago. And for anybody that doesn't know, Joel is, of course, going to fill in for Phil Shouse in South America and Europe, I believe. And that I think those dates start in just about a week and a half or so. But he sort of was discussing how this whole thing came together, and the way he explained it sounded super quick and almost effortlessly. I believe he was with Michael Cardelloni from Lynyrd Skynyrd and the Damn Yankees. Or you were with him, and then you said you needed a guitar player, and he's like, "Oh, I got the guy for you," blah blah blah. But I'm curious what it was about Joel that piqued your interest, because obviously Joel Hoekstra is a phenomenal guitar player, but certainly I don't think he's the guy that initially comes to mind when thinking of great metal guitarists. I mean, he's much more of a rock guy with Whitesnake and Trans-Siberian Orchestra and all that kind of stuff. So him filling in an Accept is certainly interesting.
Yeah, but I think you can't get too. I mean, when he plays with Whitesnake, of course, he's going to fill that role, and he's going to be that rock guy.
Sure.
But if you know how to play, if you play as well as Joel, I mean, you can play just about anything, and so you definitely can play the stuff that we need, and that what Accept is. So I'm pretty sure it's going to be just phenomenal. And we're going to start rehearsing here actually in a couple of days. So it's going to be great. It's going to be definitely an adventure for us and for him, probably. I mean, we'll take him around the world for sure. We're going to go to South America, to all these crazy countries that, normal people don't go to.
Sure.
It's going to be, I mean, like really all over the place, from, I don't know, San Salvador to Colombia, you name it. We're going to be all over the place. So that's cool. And yeah, I can't wait to rock with him. And I think it's going to be phenomenal. And it's going to be definitely a show you don't want to miss.
When you guys were both, I don't think you guys played together, but you were both on the Monsters of Rock cruise recently, right?
Yeah, that's right. We saw each other then, and he did a little acoustic set, and we did our show, and we just chatted for a while. But we haven't really played together yet. I know he's a phenomenal player, and we just sort of just chatted about it, and showed it a bunch of stuff, and he showed me some of his, and we sort of just did a little bit of that. But we haven't really, as a band, we'll start rehearsing here very soon.
So, we're now coming up on really 50 years. Is there any end in sight for Accept, or are you planning on taking this thing as far as you can and taking it to the very end?
Man, I'm going to take it all the way to the end. I'm going to die on stage, my man. You have to carry my dead ass off stage one day.
Well, I got to say,
I mean, what is there? What is there to look forward to in retirement? I don't really get it. I mean, you retire from stuff that you don't like. I guess you would retire from a job you can't wait to get out of. If you have a job 9 to 5 or whatever, and you finally want to break free from that, then I totally get it. But I don't have that job. I say musicians in general, and personally, if I speak for myself, I think we're sort of living the dream. This is something that I wouldn't want to give up. So as long as I can, I'll be out there, and the band will be out there, and we'll give it all we've got.
Well, given the shape that you're in, I mean, I wouldn't be shocked if this thing goes on another 30 years. I mean, looking at you, and I'm like, God damn, there's no way this guy's like 64 years old. I mean, you barely look.
Dude, I'm a
44.
robot. I'm a German robot, a humanoid. You know,
there you go.
it's easy. You don't, just give us some juice once in a while, some power, and we'll go.
Do you think
Plug us in? Well,
what was that?
you have to just plug us into the, into the voltage once in a while, and we'll keep going forever.
Yeah.
Little maintenance here and there, little, grease the wheels, and everything's fine.
Is there, any chance whatsoever that even towards the end, even if only for one show, maybe even just a few songs, that you would ever rejoin with Udo Dirkschneider on stage for just one final classic Accept show, or have you totally moved on from that era of the band outside of playing the songs live?
I think nobody's ever asked me, and he certainly hasn't. So I don't think it's even an issue. And I think he made some statements that he would never consider it. So at this point, no, of course. I mean, it's not an issue, man.
Yeah. So you guys aren't in touch at all?
No, you can say that again. We're not hanging. We're not spending, family Christmases together. That's safe to say.
He's not ever coming out to any Accept gigs when you're playing there.
Oh, no.
So there's tour dates all throughout this year, going up all the way up until the end of November, but there's notably no U.S. dates. But I got to imagine that's going to change in the near future. That
is going to change. That's going to get announced very soon. Yep, any day now. There's something in the works. Something is in the pipeline. I can't tell you yet because then they would kill me, or I'd have to kill you. Sorry, or both. But it's in the works, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, I'll tell you, I mean, I won't say what it is. I did hear, I heard what it is, and it's going to be a fucking phenomenal tour. I mean, it's going to be one for the books, for real.
Absolutely. Yeah, I can't wait for that one, because we haven't really spent enough time in the U.S. lately. We've done a tour a couple of years ago, and then we almost did one last year, but it kind of fell through for whatever reason, and here we are again. So it's definitely going to happen this year.
Well, make sure you check out Humanoid when it comes out on April 26th. Wolf, what else you got going on? And anything else going on in your world outside of Accept?
Well, I'm so busy with Accept right now. We just finished this. I mean, I secretly, or not secretly, but I still have in the back of my mind, I would like to make another solo album one day. But right now, I don't really have the time for it. So we'll have to wait and see until the touring kind of comes to a little bit of a well, it's never really come to an end, but hopefully there's going to be a little slow time, maybe early next year, that I can focus on that kind of stuff again.
How long has it been since your solo record?
When was that? 5, 6, 7? I mean, I would say it feels like 5 years, but if I look it up, it's probably been more longer, 7. Time flies. Sometimes in my mind, I think, oh, that just happened a couple of years ago. But then you really look it up, and it's like 8 years ago. It's nuts sometimes. So I'm not really sure how long ago it was.
Well, and then when you look at the pandemic, I mean, time really sort of froze for like 2 years there. So it's
isn't that crazy?
It's insane.
I mean, what's so weird about this pandemic stuff is, like, it seems like it was it hardly ever happened. I mean, it's almost out of my memory. To think back that we all had to wear masks and that we had all these travel restrictions, it seems like almost like a foggy dream that, but it's not that long ago, is it?
No, but I agree with you. I mean, it really feels like time stood still, and then you look back and it's like a distant memory, even though it was only, fucking 2 years ago and we were, still in the thick of it.
Right, but I'm so glad we're finally through that and things are back to normal. I mean, a lot of things have changed, unfortunately, after COVID compared to pre-COVID. Like, all the prices have exploded, and the touring business is gotten really, really much tougher because of it. So that's a bit of a drag, but I guess we'll manage. We'll be okay. Yeah, but things are not. It didn't help the world or our situation, this whole COVID mess.
Well, no, and you look at it, I mean, there's 100 bands playing in every city every night. So it's everybody's still trying to make up for lost time. And people just don't have the money to go to people can't afford to go to a show 7 nights a week,
That's
you know.
right.
So it is,
Yeah,
in some cases it is hurting ticket sales a little bit still.
it is. I'm sure. Yeah, I know it is. And a lot of people have left the industry. You know, there was a lot of self-employed people during, you know, that were in the rock and roll business, like, I don't know, from bus drivers to lighting designers to, you know, you name it, merch guys. And they all, or not all, but a certain percentage of them said, hey, I'm going to leave this industry. I'm going to get a full-time job somewhere else because I can't sustain my family if there's a 2 year break, you know. So a lot of people have just sort of wandered off, and that makes things a lot harder. It's slowly but surely getting better, but man, it is a right mess.
Well, we kind of go out of the COVID era and step right into this new AI era that we're living in, which obviously was a source of inspiration for Humanoid. And you know, it really is scary. I mean, you see these you know, some silly things on YouTube, like fucking you know, Frank Sinatra singing Holy Wars or something by Megadeth, and it's like, that's kind of funny, but then you really think about it and you're like, fuck man, this sounds real, you know. And then I just heard the other day there's a guy who is making AI generated like rappers and putting them up on Spotify just so he can, you know, so he can collect, well, you know, whatever pennies that he's going to get from Spotify streams. But my God, it's just what a crazy fucking time that we're living in right now.
Totally. And that's why we, you know, decided on, actually, when we decided on this album titled Humanoid, we thought, yeah, this is something people are interested in. It's kind of relevant. But ever since we did that, which, I mean, the album's been in the can for a few months now, but now that it's actually coming out, it's more and more relevant than we could have even anticipated, you know, because right now everybody's talking about AI. And man, I gotta say, it is scary. I used to say until recently, yeah, it's okay, but people will still make the distinction between AI, artificial created art, and human art. And then I heard some stuff the other day that just blew my mind. These are proper, decent songs and decent production, and everything sounds cool. And this happens, you know, by the touch of a button within 30 seconds. So I'm wondering, where's it going to go from here? Are people really going to be bothered to learn an instrument and buy an instrument and spend the time and just go through all the trouble of, you know, publishing albums or, like, you know, rehearsal studios and recording studios and mixing, and you don't need any of it. You just sort of go like, oh, I created myself, boom, there it is, you know. And are what's the next generation going to think about this? Are people, I mean, I'm hoping people will always want the real thing, like human created stuff, but who knows what kids from that are born in 10 years, what they will, maybe they don't even care anymore and it's all going to go away. I don't know. It's scary times for sure.
It is, and you know, I mean, to your point, not to sound like Eddie Trunk here, but you know, with so many bands using tracks, and you know, so many fans being willing, you know, they don't care, they just want to go to the show. You know, I mean, it really is crazy to think if they're down to, you know, just watch a band on stage but not actually perform, you know, what they're going to be, you know, willing to go see in 10, 20 years from now, even 5 years from now. I mean, things
Yeah,
are
I mean,
changing so
I
fast.
mean, it could be that you know, we sound like our parents telling our kids like, "But guys, this is not real," and the kids would go like, "Yeah, we don't care, Daddy. It's leave me alone. It's fine. I love it. It's computer generated or not," and we go like, "No, it's wrong. It's wrong." You know, it could be like that.
Exactly. I mean, it's that thing, and things change so fast you can't even hardly keep up with it. You know,
Right. So you know, I don't know. We
and
might just be in denial.
well, and now you know with these Kiss avatars. I mean, I just my God, you know, I don't know where you land on that whole thing, but when I saw that, I'm just like, ah, oh, goddamn, what a disappointment.
Yeah, I kind of saw that coming, to be honest. When ABBA did it, you know that somebody else is going to do it.
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't know what to think about that. I think this is not as scary as the AI stuff because not everybody can afford to, you know. go through the expense and the investment and all the trouble of having avatars made or like holograms is still quite a thing to do. But to go on a website and create your own music, that's boom. That's anybody can do that.
Hey, we'll give it a few years, and AI, I'm sure we'll be able to do similar avatars for Accept. Who knows?
Hell no!
I was also
over my dead body.
You guys got that little there's on your website. There's a little like I don't know, where you're like constructing the humanoid. I guess it's like a little game on there. Where did the idea for that come from? It's an interesting concept, and it was definitely something you don't see every day.
Yeah, that was we signed up with a new label, Napalm Records, and I think they came up with that concept. And we also had another thing where you can sort of, it's a, what do you call it again? A filter. You go on like Instagram or somewhere, and you can see yourself with like a humanoid kind of thing around your face, which is also fun.
Yeah.
And all this stuff, to me, it's like, whoa, how does that even happen? I mean, how's it I mean, I'm somewhere straddling these old, two worlds, a new time. I'm kind of trying to stay in touch with some stuff, but surely not all of it. And sometimes I just wonder, like, how is that even possible? How do they do that kind of stuff? And it just blows my mind. So yeah, it's a little weird for me sometimes, this stuff, how quick it happens and how amazing it is. But yeah, that game is crazy.
It is, and you can go to Accept's website. I think, what is it? It's I don't have it written down. I believe it's acceptworldwide.com, if I recall. Is that right?
That's correct. Absolutely. Acceptworldwide.com. Check it out there.
Yeah, and you can check out all their tour dates, and make sure you check out Humanoid when it comes out April 26th. Wolf, thank you so much for coming on, man, and taking some time this morning. Really appreciate it, and great to have you on.
Nice chatting with you. Great questions. So all the best to you. And yeah, we'll see you out down the road, hopefully.